everybody. Welcome to a Clickstuff Heroclix strategy and strategy bites video. Um, Today we're going to be talking about the robots team that has made a splash in 3 state championships that have been able to have. And we're going to be talking about this in preparation for the 2020 Nationals being hosted by The Rock Online. So joining me today is one of the curators of the robot team, or maybe the curator of the robot team. I don't know. And all-around great guy, PJ Boland.
Hi. It was a shared effort. What's funny, like Easton and I both made it separately, and then we used our builds to tweak each other's builds and settled where it is now. So definitely a collaborative effort.
Yeah, cool. So it's a team that I'm 1-1 against. I did lose to it in Missouri States. And you know what? It's one of those things, right? So I was talking to PJ about this, and it's one of these teams that I think that once you figure out some of the things it can do, you can counter what it does a little bit.
Yep.
And so in my final matchup against Brian, I wanted to try a couple of things for myself and maybe hope that Brian didn't roll so well on his dice, and Brian yeeted me with his dice. Now I always hate to say something like that, but it's with the caveat that Brian played the team very well. I've watched the streams of Easton playing it in the finals of Alabama. Right, these guys play the team really well, so I have a huge hill to climb because I haven't practiced against it. Now, I did beat this team in Swiss of Missouri States, so I had some opinions to share on it. PJ is kind of one of the curators of the team, decided to hop on and talk to me about it a little bit. So I think we'll do as a kind of a multi-part discussion on the team. I want to talk about the team in a vacuum, right? So every team is good. I think you have to assume that every team loses map, right? So what happens if you go to Hoth? And when I say that is just, what if it's a blank white map, right? What does the team do in that case, right? Of course, this team's a +8, right?
Yeah.
So
it's certainly not perfect, but...
Right, it's certainly, there's a lot of +6s, there's a lot of +7s.
There's like Justice League that's like +11.
Yeah, +11, 12, 13. And there's the Brute theme team that could be +20, right? Or the Friends of Humanity has Sentinel too, right?
Yep.
So Sentinel could be 10, 15, 20 potentially.
For sure.
So, but those are a little bit more outliers. I mean, I think 8's pretty solid given everything that we're seeing going into Nats.
Yep.
So let's just talk about each individual piece of the team. Let's talk about things that we know. I think Tri-Sentinel, right? Retail, bus blocking, deals you penetrating damage. Sidestep, flyer, colossal. Can move up and activate retail and deal you pin damage. Arguably, to me at least, one of the most broken things in Modern currently.
Agreed.
So it's just it's an interaction thing that needs to be fixed. That I don't know when or if it will be fixed.
Yeah.
So
something else to keep in mind with what he does for this team is he opens up your pathing, and a big thing is the spin ring extending his mobility.
Right. So we can just talk about the spin ring in general, right? Because you can move a 2x2 1 square forward, but move its ass end essentially 2 squares.
Yeah, if you pivot around this square.
Yeah, sorry. Show it again. I was on the HC.
Yeah, I'm spam pinging it here. If you pivot around this square, you can do a full butt swing to here.
Right. So, I'm not so sure that that's something that can be easily fixed. But, maybe that's an errata to the spin ring more than anything. Like, I don't know. Probably not even worth it, but it is something.
I don't think that's too overpowered.
Right.
It's just super useful in that specific situation with 2x2s.
And it happens with like the 2x2 Magneto as well, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, Tri-Sentinel is certainly one of the most broken pieces. 30 points. It's a retail, right? It really just fits in with the whole team.
Yeah.
Now, the second piece on the team to talk about, I think, is Isaac. I think he's one of the best pieces in Modern, right?
Yep.
I've played him as an Avenger. He's been on the Robots team. He's a must play on the Jason Weingard sideline.
Agreed. He is a Modern staple.
Yes, absolutely. So,
and he's like $6.
No, he's not.
What, really?
No, he has gone.
I sold one for like $8.
I sold several for like under $10, but he's up to $30 now.
Oh, dang it!
Yeah,
I really missed the window on that one.
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't give them away, and I had one in my box, and someone asked me how much I had it posted. And I was like, "How much is it?" And I'm like, I almost just instinctively responded $8. I was like, "Well, no, let me look it up," and turns out it was $30, and I was like, "Oh, $30?" And they were like, "I'll pass," and I'm like, "I guess I'll just keep it." So, anyways, Isaac generates the Pogs, right? So you get a defensive Pog with the plasticity, barrier, Lord Gaia.
Yep.
And then I don't actually have him pulled up real quick.
And close combat expert.
And close combat expert, right? Well, I'm talking about defensive, right? I'm saying, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So certainly Isaac or Lord Gaia is offensive when you're close. But just the plasticity can slow down Captain Marvel's. The barrier super defensive. His close combat expert. He's a beast up close. But that's kind of the secondary play, I think.
Yeah, that's more or less if you get to tie something up with him and then they don't kill it.
Right.
But I think you look to barrier with him if you're going to use an action.
Yes, exactly.
Now, in my games when I played against J Major, I used him as tie up. Right. I moved him up adjacent.
What was Jay playing?
He was playing an Immortal Hulk team.
Oh,
Immortal Hulk, some Wendigos, and he's really good at tying up Hulk, and then like outwitting charge and just being there. Like the positioning wasn't adequate for barrier locking because he was in some hindering.
Sure.
So I was like, all right, whatever. I'll just tie you up with this guy and make you have to kill him.
Right.
And then when you do, I'll make another one.
Yep, absolutely. And then you've got Stellarex up next. So he's about a mid-range, decent attacker with Side Blast, right?
Yeah, he's not terrible. He's certainly not good, but...
Right. I mean, but he adds to the offensive capability of the team.
Yeah, he's really good once stuff starts dying.
Yes. And then lastly, you got Chaos, which is, probably a late-game thing at best, or once Isaac gets hit to a stop click.
Yeah, I generated him one time other than getting hit to stop.
Right.
In an entire event, so
most of the time you're having to regenerate Gaia or regenerate Stellarex more so than you just get to generate
that, and just sometimes even just getting the actions, right? Like, this team has so many pieces that want to do stuff. Sometimes it's just hard to afford to make a Pog.
Right. Yeah, but if you do get him out, it's autonomous TK with 11 for 4, right, with 6
for
range.
Sure.
Willpower, phasing. And then, lastly, up top, Isaac most often provides a perplex.
Yep. And the weirdest thing, my favorite part about Isaac on this team, because for a while we debated between Isaac and Ultra. It's like, do we want perplex or prob? Because we knew the action total is going to be rough to accommodate him making Pogs. But Isaac wins the spot because he has the boot symbol. I know it's weird, but
yes, and we can talk about that.
Most of this team flies.
Yeah. If you want to share that kind of initial setup turn here in a little bit,
sure.
We can go over that. So
I'll pull the stuff out onto the map now.
You just go ahead and do that. I'm over at Realm still. So the next thing I want to talk about is Cyclops Sentinel.
Yep.
Now, I tell you what, we've debated, at least on our team, about is Cyclops Sentinel good or good enough. Now, I think initially he comes in as he's the only robot with leadership.
Yep.
I mean, maybe there might be someone else. Other the Borg.
There's another 50.1, but
Yeah.
Cyclops Sentinel is worlds better than that one.
Right, and Cyclops Sentinel's better than Prez Ricard.
Agreed.
So I think a lot of people just bypassed Cyclops Sentinel when the set came out because ID cards we thought were still going to be legal.
Right.
So like this guy just would get shot by an ID card. If like Cyclops student ID was still legal, there's plenty of Cyclops that could just come out and yeet this guy off the map.
Yep, with huge reach.
Yeah, huge reach, right? And this is a big 2x2, right? Big colossal 2x2.
Yep.
He's a boot. So leadership, right? Prime directive, so he's constantly moving.
And you get 2 in a surprising amount of games.
Yeah, there's a lot of X-Men or Brotherhood, right? Because
a lot of 2x2 Magnetos, a lot of Dark Phoenix, a lot of Jason Wingard.
And doesn't the Danger Room mags have Brotherhood too?
Yes, I think all of the Danger Room pieces have Brotherhood.
Sinister doesn't. Sinister doesn't.
Then Magneto definitely does.
Yeah, Magneto definitely does. He has the team ability too.
Yeah. Oh man, I always forgot about that. I never rolled for that once. Whoops.
Yeah. So,
or never checked for that once. Dang it.
Yeah. So, he gets to move quite a bit, right? And he's got running shot, 8 range, blows up blocking, right? Which is really good. Now, the attack power is the other thing.
Oh.
So 11 for 4 with Psyblast, and then you get to have a penetrating damage after it, so it's Proxima Spear type effect, or give them an action token, or knock them back 6 squares.
And it's not only the target, it's the target and all adjacent characters.
Right.
Adjacent opposing characters.
Right. But you got to do the same effect for them all.
Correct.
So it's really brutal against Captain Marvel's.
Even the 1 penetrating damage is so deceptively important because it doesn't help against Captain Marvel's stop clicks, but it enables kills that you wouldn't normally get.
Right.
The big thing was hitting Captain Marvel from 1 stop click to the next because it does the 2 and then the additional 1. Yeah. With a perplex to damage, it spins a Hulk.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah.
So he can do very good things.
Right.
There was actually a couple times that I perplexed down his damage, so that I got the extra effect of doing the 1 pin to everything. Because the 1 pin still gets me the kill, so I go to 3 damage, and then the 4th would kill. I think it was against a Atom.
So, because if the hit character dies, he doesn't get to do it, right?
Correct.
And because it is after resolutions, right?
And it calculates adjacent to that character. So if there's no character there, there's
right. Yeah, that makes sense. But he only has that on his top click. Now, and I've seen this. I've seen people comment about this. I want to talk about his trait. Decapitation is irrelevant. For heaven's sakes, folks, deal 4 damage to this guy.
Or ignore him. Or poison him. That is the best case, right? If you can deal 1 damage without attacking, then ignore him, you're good to go. Or just kill him, like Dan said. Just one-shot the guy.
Right, which is not... Captain Marvel can do it with her hypersonic, with really no help. But please, just don't deal 3 damage to him and let the Cyclops Sentinel head come out and wreck your day.
Oh, it feels so good when he gets to pop out.
That just blows my mind. I'm just going to be honest with you. It just blows my mind. But that's why we're doing the video, right? It blows my mind, but that's why we're doing the video. Tip number 1, just kill the Cyclops Sentinel. I'm not saying it's easy. Or I'm not saying you get to do it first. I'm not saying you get to do it at all. But if you do get to do it, do it.
Yeah,
Do it fully.
right. Yeah, don't throw an attack at him that isn't 4 damage. It's just not worth it.
Or don't energy explode him.
I had that happen. I've also had him get clipped in a Dark Phoenix reach out that they could have definitely missed him with.
Oh, man.
And they're like, no, I'll go ahead and get him too. I'm like, okay.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, please don't do that. So a couple of just probably other notes. So Superman, pretty straightforward. Now Superman is deceptive here. Superman at a first pass, and certainly his most useful thing is he's a sidestep equipper with flight.
Yep.
Okay, 10 points for that. Now, if he gets close to you and he gets to use close combat expert and then deals you one unavoidable afterwards, that can also take a Marvel from click to click and then kill her.
Yeah.
If she's on her stop click, that is.
Right.
So.
Because he can go 10 for 5. Like, he
Yeah.
can just do that.
Yeah, no
for 10
perplexity.
points.
For 10
And
points,
also,
yeah.
another deceptive thing about him is he has 4 range in the Superman ally team ability.
Yeah.
Like, that's not nothing. I mean, I shot a Widow with him.
Yeah. Yeah, 10 on 18 for 3 is not bad. I mean, even you got perplexes to go on top of that even.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and she wasn't on top click. I think she was down on her 17.
Gotcha. So Brainiac, right? We know Brainiac's good. I think maybe if you were looking at this team, like, is Brainiac 100% crucial to the team?
No.
You could. So would you say you could easily replace him with another Superman?
If I wasn't looking at Amazo team ups, absolutely. It just depends on the way you want to go with the team.
Oh, that's
if you
right.
Want to use
That's right.
Ups.
That's
Yeah, because
right.
you have to have Highlander for Amazo team ups, or for any team ups.
So let's talk about Amazo. So 40-point Amazo, 3 clicks. If you go team up with him, you got to be Highlander. And then a lot of times you just go Amazo for hypersonic and super senses.
I always at the states I played at, I picked that every match except for one of my Halt games. I took Flurry ESD.
Right. So you could.
But I regretted it. So,
okay.
That's because I didn't have the Hot Girl team up. If I had the Hot Girl, there's a lot of situations where I would want that over Flash because the sidestep is super useful.
Oh, sidestep's always useful, right?
Yeah.
But now he can take sidestep from.
Yes, you have plenty of access to it. Like, you got like 3 pieces you can take it from.
Sure.
It's just a matter of I like taking better stuff.
Right.
So like turn 1, I pick leadership ESD every time.
Yeah, from the Cyclops Sentinel. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need anything else with it. So why not on the beginning of turn, since you can roll leadership before he repicks his powers, just try to get the extra roll.
That's right.
So and then you pick whatever you need from there out. But
yeah.
Yep.
But now, so there is Easton did play the team without team ups and played with the sideline.
Correct.
What's your plus and minus on playing each version of that team?
All right. So the upsides to the team ups, you get better reach, and Amazo's a better secondary attacker. By playing a sideline, he is a dedicated support piece. I mean, yes, you can still pick like running shot, pin sai, and attack, but I feel like where he has less powers, you're going to want him to be an extra perplex, taking like plasticity ESD or something from Tri-Sentinel to tie up with. Like, you're using him a lot differently in that setup. Obviously, it's nice having trouble alerts and troublemakers because they're absolutely worth the 0 points you pay for them.
Yeah, right.
But I don't think there is a right or wrong answer with this team on playing the team ups or the sideline. At States, I was torn between which one I was going to do. And and I only had a Vulcan and a Lex with me, so it was a pretty easy decision, right? Like,
Right.
well, do I want these two or the sideline access or the team up access?
Right. Now, I mean, so I think a lot of people would see this team, and it's fairly cheap
Yeah,
as well, right? So we always talk about, what's a cheap access to the meta, right? So if you can't afford an Amazo team up and you can't afford a Brainiac, then just go with a second Superman and whatever trouble alert you
and
can get your hands on.
and also this team can get even cheaper. Tri Sentinel isn't mandatory, and this build is 297, so you can cut him for a 33-point Sentinel,
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
and it has perplex. Like that's fine. Like I'm okay
right.
with that as a like when we were looking at for team nationals, looking at robots. I was like, well, if we don't want Tri Sentinel on this team, this is an easy replacement. And I was like, well, that's actually just a really good replacement anyway.
Right. That's a good point. So the team is versatile in what it does. Now, if it loses map to Batman, and Batman has the double barrier, and
Yeah,
is playing on the Battlegrounds Ultron map, that's potentially a bad day, right?
yeah. You just accept the fact that you lose both your colossals easily and quick. The only upside that you have is you have alternating barrier.
Right, between
So
Amazo and Gaia.
yeah, that's pretty much all you got. You can protect a lot of your core. Like ideally, your turn one would be to put Cyclops Sentinel in front of Tri Sentinel. So if they make the shot, at least you get the retail.
Sure.
But
Maybe. I mean, it's an indoor map, and hopefully they yeet their whole team together, right?
yeah, but then like you could like potentially running shot with mags depending on the situation. Like
Right.
I would also consider letting Isaac get shot
Right.
and just not rolling senses, generating all three pogs, get the autonomous TK, and you can really catch somebody off guard if they're not
Right.
prepared for it.
Right. I mean, because Batman ideally should turn one, double equip, and then go steal the spin ring or shoot the exospecs.
Yeah, and then ideally, I would be fine with equipping either of those as long as they don't both go. Because like Magneto with exospecs is one of the best combos in Modern, but also just putting the specs on Sinister so you have a TK is fine.
Right.
Like, yeah, both of those objects give you the TK that you need.
Sure. So, we didn't talk a lot about Danger Room Mags and Sinister, but Magneto with the exospecs, right? Well, I want to talk about that when we get into the map setup here and switch back
Sure.
over to the Roll20 room. But Sinister with the spin ring
Yep.
is very annoying.
To say the least.
His improved targeting hindering to move somebody out of stealth is, I don't know, probably like right behind Magneto with the exospecs, right?
Yeah. And the fact that he has poison, right? So like even if you're not spinning him out of stealth, you can spin him to him maybe. Get
Right.
the free poison.
Sure.
There's a lot of good uses defensively with the spin ring as well, like with Psych Sentinel, Tri Sentinel, breaking people out of adjacency, moving people adjacent to your plasticity, stuff like that.
Right.
Enabling a creep with Gaia, since he doesn't have his own sidestep. You can
Sure.
get slowly approach with him if you need to alternate barriers.
Yeah, and the only downside is that Sinister doesn't have willpower.
Yeah, that sucks. That's why we need Galactus for Sinister.
Oh man, that's good. But then he can't have the spin ring.
Yeah, I know, that's that day.
So, so let's talk about the main map that this team uses, and that's the the Sentinel Factory. I mean, at least it's a thematic team, a thematic map. I like putting Remaker Ring on Widow. So she's a Black Widow with shape change and poison.
Yeah.
So I like having some thematicness to my teams. So PJ, I'll just kind of let you talk about what the first turn looks like for the team.
Yeah. Okay, so this is assuming with the team ups. So Amazo takes flash. It's pretty much a guarantee. So to start, and this is just for maximum reach, like you can do differently. Ultimately, the goal is equip specs. But we'll just talk about for max reach, you'll want to sidestep here.
Well, so you do the prime directive with Sentinel first.
Right, yeah. We'll just say it's only one and carry Brainiac. And then is where you would have also copied first. You would copy the leadership and literally any other power. I just take ESD because he's most likely to get shot at this turn, not punched.
Right.
So then is where I will sidestep with Sinister. Then I will hypersonic with Amazo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, not over the blocking, but
Right.
yeah.
Well, he fly. Yeah, I'm just saying. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. Pick up the ring. 5. Begin your second movement to go to here.
Yeah.
And this is where you'll stop. Dropping the spin underneath Sinister, who will equip it.
Yep.
Then I will spin Magneto forward a square.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go get the Exospecs with Superman, ending my movement here. Then I'll sidestep to here, dropping the specs on Mags.
Yep.
And the reason it's important to get Superman there, this was actually something I didn't realize super late in the event. It enables the sidestep carry of Isaac sooner. I was wasting actions to move him back to go get Isaac, and it was awkward. But this turn 1 setup, then Magneto picks up sidesteps to here, carrying him here.
Yep. Now, I think what's important to note there is that you could drop your object at any point during your movement.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the square that you end in.
Right. So the main thing that's important about this placement, and honestly I just leave Tri-Sentinel, because like sidestepping up here gives them longer, like.
Yeah, you just want to give him. You just want to probably maintain his FTI, right?
Yeah, and even then, a lot of the time I just leave him right there. I don't move him closer to this blocking. I don't put him over where he can get shot over here. Like maybe I'll move him to there, but that's like the extent of what he does, and then he waits to retell.
Right.
But okay, so again, the importance of this setup is more about what you can do turn 2. So to go into that, let's say we got lucky and hit the leadership on Amazo before you repick powers. Boom. Happy day. Prime directive to here. Then you would repick powers with Amazo, taking TK, and I usually take sidestep. And then
From
Amazo would... And look at this, I already messed up. So Amazo's supposed to be there at the end of that first turn. I'm just dumb. You're supposed to be in a line. So pretend they were like that, guys.
Sure.
So what you'll do is after you copy sidestep TK, you can activate TK with Sinister, or you spin first, whatever, it doesn't matter, it's all the same. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. TK him out 6 from 19 to 13. 2, 3. And then you can sidestep with Amazo and TK him yet again another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You get another 4 squares out of it because you use this Sinister.
Yeah, so you use Sinister's printed range of a 7.
Yep, so then that gets Magneto to row 9, which is important because then you can pick Pulse Wave, running shot to row 3, and Pulse Wave 4 squares out.
Yeah.
Which is important for like teams that try to hide right here, thinking that they, are safe on this little spot, and they are really not. You don't always need that reach. It's not common. But the fact that it's there is very threatening.
Yes.
And you can run, and from this square you can also take your diagonals, right? You can here. You can run to here. Like, it's very easy to get to any of the, like, to cover any of these approach angles.
Right.
Because like this was something we had to work out to combat Exodus teams, is how can we TK within the 8 to make sure that we get the shot off on them. Sure. And we figured it out by doing this little double TK play.
Yeah, double TK play has always been strong, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good play as well. But I mean, you can also like pick energy explosion too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be the pulse wave play. I mean, it
No,
can
you
all
would
it,
definitely do energy explosion play against like Exodus. The EE play, like in my top 4 game against Jeremy Walters, like I'm just gonna demonstrate this here. He had a Tri Sentinel here
yeah, and
and a Tri Sentinel here.
you also forgot to mention like perplexing up attack and stuff, but
Yeah. Oh, right. That is
yeah,
important
so
because yeah, you would,
you can keep doing the whole thing. Yeah, so you sidestep
yeah.
carry,
And then you
um,
have this line because a Magneto is like right here
yeah, at the
or
time,
here or something. Yeah, like even after your first TK, Isaac has an 8, so that is no
right,
slouch.
right. So you get a 13 attack instead of his 12.
Yeah.
And then just to finish out the pulse wave play, right? And then my tip number 2, I guess, against facing this team, don't leave your team up here on this elevated.
No.
So
If you're on the elevation 2, you are boned. I
this
will
is
say this square, this one, and this one are safe. They are fine.
but you still would take 2 damage.
Right, but you'll do that pretty much anywhere on this map. Like
Right.
there are so like just I'm gonna put hindering markers down on the squares that are safe on this map that aren't in a starting area. Like there's those, and then you have the mirror. They're kind of sloppy looking here, but it's fine.
Yeah,
And
we get it, right? It's important.
Yeah,
I mean, like, because Magneto. Let's just talk about the power. He's got Force Blast, and he can choose, or when Magneto knocks back an opposing character, you may choose the direction of the knockback. So I think
so
in
good.
I think in general, right? Like this square right here is okay, right?
Right. It's just not conducive to you playing and engaging your opponent on the pieces that can die easily.
Right. So
Now, if you have full map reach or whatever, absolutely park right there. You are fine.
right, or like in my case, right? Like so, I wanted to see what would happen, right? So I wanted to make sure that I left my Black Widow on the elevation, so Brian would come over and knock her off the elevation. I then proceeded to one turn his Magneto.
Right.
So what's important too is that this team has to come to you. And I mean, and that's more of just a general thing. That's more of a Daniel Powell tip. Is most of the time to win, if you have the reach, they have to come to you to do the thing with the thing. So, play it out, see what they do, especially if you're behind, right? If you've lost map and you're behind, you need to see what they're going to be doing. Don't push the pace if you're not for sure, but don't be on the elevation on this map so you get yeeted off of it.
And especially don't move right here. Like, these squares right here are the worst places you could be, because not only does he get to knock you off the elevator, attack you while you're standing right here. Like, please don't move to these spots.
Right. Now, I would say that I did move to those spots with Widow, but I also deleted Magneto's dial and outwitted Amazo. I take that back. I deleted Amazo's dial, but I outwitted Pulse Wave on Magneto.
Oh yeah, that feels fine.
Yeah. So just be prepared if you're going to move up that's what you need to do.
Yeah, you need to make sure that you're safe from that pulse.
Now, I would say there is a couple of characters that are immune to that. Lockjaw being one of them.
Mm-hmm. Any 2x2?
Any 2x2 that has a reducer that's protected stop.
Well, I mean, like Onslaught, you can't knock him back. Because
Right.
you just can't knock back somebody bigger than you.
Well, I'm saying if you have like a 20-point Starro that doesn't have toughness on his stop click.
Oh, right. Yeah, he's just dead.
He just gets yeeted. Now, in relation to our video that we posted yesterday, Mr. Darkseid is actually immune from that as well. Because you'll do the 1 damage to him. I keep spelling Darkseid wrong. But then his second click has a protected impervious that's protected pulse wave.
Yep.
So you can yeet him off the elevation, but he's going to absorb it and then Omega Beam you.
Yep. He won't care.
Yeah, for upsetting Mr. Darkseid. Um, so I think that as long as you think about what this team can do, turn 1, turn 2, don't go to the elevation. Don't just sit there and wait for Magneto to come yeet you.
Yeah. I think it's just, you should always plan, just assume that they can hit you wherever you're at.
Yes.
I think that's going to be the safest way. Because, like, even in this positioning here, Cyclops Sentinel has some insane reach, right? Just from this start, like, even if you don't do the double TK.
Right.
Because, like, a sidestep and a spin, and then a running shot 5.
Yes.
And then he shoots 8.
Yeah, 8 through blocking. He's to row 6 that's without a perplex.
Right. That's just, and that's if you don't have the X-Men or Brotherhood, right? Like, that's him only prime directive 1 square at a time.
Right. And then of note on this map is that the elevated does at least pair somewhat with Brainiac.
Yep.
You could potentially get yeeted by Brainiac as well.
Yeah. I think it is just super safe to say if you're on this map.
Yeah, I mean, unless you have a plan to absorb the Magneto, or unless you can delete Magneto and delete Amazo to some extent.
Yeah. If the situation calls for it, like if you're coming in to like put 5, obviously it's worth it. Right. But like if you're just doing a creep or you're repositioning or resetting, don't do it on the elevated.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And that's even if Magneto's dead. If Magneto and Brainiac are both dead, then that's fine. But it's still something to be super mindful of.
Sure. I think that was my biggest takeaways. Like, I think in general, like if I had, turn 1, moved my Widow with Captain Marvel into that square, and just went maybe against an EE instead. I'd had that in mind on both of those. But I mean, Energy Explosion is super strong, right?
It's surprisingly good right now.
Right.
Like in today's Modern, like I found myself picking it a lot more than I ever thought I would, considering his EEs are only 1 damage.
Correct. Right, but they're also knockback, right?
Right. So, but like the amount of things that don't have reducers right now is a lot lower than you expect.
Yes. That, and then also, the other really good team in Modern, right? We've talked about, robots. We've talked about Black Widow. We've talked about Darkseid. But the Captain, the Widow, Nightbringer, Shifting Widow, Hoppy Hogan, that team likes to stay clumped together. There's a lot of formations in some of the other teams that are relevant.
Yeah.
And Magneto just even if say like you lost map, right? Let me pull up another map here real quick. Like, let's just say you lost map. I don't know if I have any. Nope. Well, let's just say. Let me just do this. Let's just. I have the WWE arena down here. Let's just say in general, you lost map and you go to WWE. Whoop. Hold on. Switch layers. Bring up WWE. I think this is WWE.
Me? Yeah.
It might be Flashpoint Flood. No, it's WWE.
No, it's WWE.
Okay. But, so, like in that situation here, oh my gosh. Thanks, Roll20.
I think you can right click and undo. Oh, well, that was my last thing. You should be able to right click and hit undo, and it should.
There it is.
That works too.
Yeah, let's just bring it up here. So let me do this. I love Roll20. It's great, right? I mean, it's what we got, so you just gotta deal with some of its idiosyncrasies and go from there. So let's see. All right, 2 front, layer, map layer. So, you know, the Widow team has to think about if it wins this map. If it wins on this map, right? If Magneto can just come up and just yeet them all and destroy their formation and knock something out of stealth, and then Psych Sentinel comes out and, you know, does a big penetrating side blast to something, that's not good either.
Yep. Because the cool thing with Magneto is you can pull them out of stealth and maintain their formation, right? So if you like, they miss position where like Chase Widow is on this edge, and you pull the whole formation to here, to like this square, you can Cyclops Sentinel punish her and do the one pin to everybody as well.
Right. Exactly.
So they took the one from the pulse wave, and they're going to take the one from the pin.
Correct.
Or the EE or whatever you use to hit them. I mean, EE is not going to be so common, but you do have the access to the stealth busting outwit. Well, never mind. No, you don't. I like
the Superman. I mean, Superman can go in there. Isaac can create a thing. You know, if you're playing this flash card, then Amazo can go shoot instead of having to go punch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 10 on 18 is better than 10 on a 20.
That's right.
So
yeah, a lot of follow-up options.
Now, I think that this map's, you know, obviously you're going to pick the other side, probably with the robot team, so that you can barrier. I just threw this map up there for that reason, but just for in general. But, you know, there's a lot of options. Have you, so do you have anything else you want to cover on the team?
I just maybe touch base a little bit on Hedge Maze.
Sure.
Just another map choice for the team here. I'm
Sure.
just gonna pull it out. King's Tomb I've never went to, so I'm not really gonna worry about talking to that too much.
Okay.
So an important thing to note about this map, why it's important on the build. One, Tri-Sentinel is just ridiculous here. But most importantly, you would take the Duke, Thomas, Adam, Micron teams here. Because you can occupy these weird spots like this that just don't have that many squares adjacent to them, right?
Sure.
So it's really hard for them to get their move in and their placement without extending their team in a negative way. The other team that this map is very good against is the Widow team that we were just talking about, with Hogan, Captain Marvel, and both Widows. There are zero squares of printed hindering on this map.
Oh, that's true.
So yes, they can equip Nightbringer, but that gives them 2 people in stealth, and that's it. So you get to really just tee off on their team because they have to move up to here-ish. And if they don't, you have all day to prime directive 1 square at a time until you get in the range for the shot.
Right.
Because Cyclops Sentinel will be able to hit before they can hit.
Right, because that team doesn't have any TK.
Right. Their reach is incredibly predictable.
Right. I mean, unless the shifting focus Widow is TKing out Happy Hogan.
And you know what? I'm so okay with that. No, Happy, don't do it.
You'd say that until he comes over and throws a object at your team and like eats your whole team.
Just like crit hits my Psych Sentinel and then drops in like a Grodd that leap climb quakes, kills like
everything.
Yeah, everything that he can.
Right.
No.
That would feel bad. But no, this is a good map, right? This is a good map for it. Now, have you beaten a Vulture team with this?
I have not played against one, but I feel like the matchup would be fine.
So that would probably be your Ancient... Did you say Ancient Hold or King's Tomb is your third one?
King's Tomb.
Yeah, so that may be your third. That might be a time you'd go there, but you'd probably want to tee it up.
It would depend on if they have barrier or not. If they have access. If they don't have access to barrier, I'll just go to Sentinel Factory and just do my thing.
Right.
Because they're not going to kill Magneto fast enough.
But now, would you break FTI on Psych Sentinel and Brainiac?
No, I would not.
That's what
I would not take the Prime Directive move.
Right. So I'm thinking like they can, like the Phil Coulson version of it can turn one yeet you.
Oh yeah, and another thing to point out because of the stupid ruling with the 50-point Phil Coulson is you can't do your drop equips. Do you know about that?
Right, because they'll equip it to their team.
Yeah, like you would not be able to equip at all. You'd have to slow equip. So you don't want to give their vulture your exo specs.
Right.
Like what I would probably do is do the drop equip with spin ring, and just if they take it, okay, that's all you get to take. I get my specs. And if they don't take it in anticipation of getting the specs, then okay, cool, spin ring. Next turn, okay, equip, like whatever, because you have the barrier to be safe.
Sure. It's certainly
So,
a slight lower. It's mostly a slower matchup than just being able to go out and, pulse wave the team turn two.
right. But yeah, this team definitely has stuff that will just drop. But as long as you keep Brainiac, Psych Sentinel, Tri Sentinel, and Superman spread out, the other 4 pieces don't die to a single attack. Right. They can get flurried, don't get me wrong, but because Amazo could die to it, but it's pretty easy to make sure you have a power that.
Right, like so in that case, that's where you'd want your Hot Girl team up card, maybe.
Yeah, or just make sure you copy sidestep before they come in.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
If you're gonna break immunity, you probably want Hot Girl.
Yeah.
That just seems fine.
And I think you also have to be careful with this team against. And I'm just thinking about Vulture, right? Because I've encountered Vulture probably 3 or 4 times in play. I think this team also has to be careful with its map choice on getting beatbox against the wall by Vulture.
Yeah.
So, that's that can wreck its day, right? And if now the same elevation that protects you can also be the elevation that hurts you.
Absolutely.
Because if your Magneto gets dropped off the elevation, he takes 2 instead of 1. Same thing with Sinister. Now, Sinister,
he ends up taking 3. I mean,
right, because he takes 1 from the attack and 2 from the fall damage.
Yeah.
Now that's he has toughness on a couple of his clicks, so.
Oh yeah, he will have toughness on click too. So that
just depends on how they're beatboxing him, right?
Yeah, I mean if you're flurrying him, the first attack hits him for 1, second attack hits him for.
Right, and if they can see him down the elevation, maybe the first attack does 1 and then 2, and then beatboxes him into a wall for 2 more, and he's almost dead.
Right. Yeah, he puts him on last click.
Yeah, just depending on how it goes. Now, Sinister does end up going into Invincible, so he's pretty okay with that. As long as
he has a shape change.
Yeah. Now, Isaac, if he misses his super senses, creates all of his pogs, which Vulture eats alive.
Yep. Yeah, and that's mandatory too.
Yeah, it's not optional.
I mean, I guess if you just get really lucky, you hit the senses with chaos, and that feels fine.
Yeah. There's a lot. It's a lot of luck, right? But there's a lot of teams like that. I played Uni against Vulture, and I rolled out between Super Senses Shape Change and Impervious at least 80% of those matches. But there was a couple of matches I didn't against Vulture, and Vulture I think is still a pretty good threat. He's a cheap enough team to play.
Absolutely.
For a lot of people, as we go into nationals here, so.
And he's simple enough to pilot.
He is. He's not easy to pilot. I don't know if there's anything that's necessarily easy to pilot right now.
I think there's quite a few teams that are easy to run and hard to master type thing.
Right.
Like I think Double Marvel Widow is easy to do the basis of, right?
Right.
It's move, hopefully you don't die, move again, drop a bunch of crap and kill as much as you can.
Right.
That is the baseline of that team.
Yes. But now there's also a lot of, hey, let's not get Widow EE'd immediately.
Right. There are some definite subtleties.
Right. Or, don't forget to roll for your assembled Avengers trait on Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
I forgot to do that a lot. Yep.
Some figures just have so much going on. It's so easy to forget what they do.
Yeah, I agree. So, well, PJ, thanks for sharing some of your secret sauce with the community,
Yeah.
and providing a little, I guess, quid pro quo with me on this team. And thanks everybody for watching today. If you like what you see, check us out: clickstuff.com, facebook.com/clickstuff, and patreon.com/clickstuff. Have a great day.
Bye.